Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third episode of Let's Work Inclusively podcast. I am so thrilled and excited for all of you to join us today. Today, we are excited to feature Mandy Noerper of ConnectIDD, and ConnectIDD is spelled as Connect, capital IDD. And before I begin in introducing Mandy with ConnectIDD, I want to share an important thing about Let's Work Inclusively. Let's Work Inclusively is a podcast where we feature meaningful conversations from leaders from the business, nonprofit, and government landscapes here in North Texas and beyond. But with this, I'm so excited. Mandy, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today, Dylan.
Well, I am excited for you to be here to share a little bit about who you are, what ConnectIDD is. For those who don't know, ConnectIDD is a national organization, a business that is there to support various organizations and entities that are looking to serve or better serve people with disabilities across the United States. They're here based in Texas, in North Carolina, I believe, Florida, and other places. There's just so much to learn. So I so look forward for all of you to enjoy. So we're going to get started, Mandy. Mandy, can you start by introducing yourself and your role within ConnectIDD?
Sure. My name is Mandy Noerper. I have been in the disability space for about 15 years, and my role with ConnectIDD is the National Director of Programs, as you mentioned, and I essentially come in and I support the programmatic aspects of any organization that is serving people with IDD. That can be educational programs, vocational programs, community-based programming. It's really whatever they need. We get to come in and look at it, and my role specifically is just to look at programmatic aspects.
So tell me a little bit more about you, Mandy. For those who don't know, I've known Mandy for what, about 5-7 years now, maybe more?
2021, probably.
Okay, so I feel like it was more than that. Okay,
I didn't know you pre-COVID.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so since 2021, I've seen the work that you've done and the work that you built, not only locally and regionally, but now you're expanding that reach beyond that. Tell us about your experience within the disability landscape.
Sure, happy to. So I've been connected to the disability landscape since college. Thought I was going to be a music teacher for neurotypical children and did not like that one bit. So I ended up transferring to special education. So my first experience was what they call in North Carolina intensive intervention. It's basically the self-contained classrooms. So it was the kiddos from kindergarten to third grade who had the most significant disabilities and the highest level of support needs. And so I really fell in love with them, obviously, but also the intricacies of support that came into play. It also helped me see similarities even in K through 3 within myself and helped me get my own autism diagnosis as I grew. And so I was a full-grown adult by the time I got my own diagnosis, and I had already been in the disability space for probably 5, 6, 7 years by that point, and serving children and adults through ABA, through day programming, through education, and then through vocational rehabilitation as well. So I've really kind of done all sorts of different things. I've also done a lot of staff training, helping other people know how to serve people with disabilities. The variety is always really fun. I enjoy that, but also using my own experience to help people really understand the internal experience that an individual is having and why certain things are impactful and why certain things can be harmful when we don't mean them to be.
You know, Mandy brought up a good point is as we are either seeking to serve in the disability space or already part of the natural disability experience, we live it, we breathe it, we work in the space. It is so important to understand each individual and their unique abilities. They can either contribute either in a community, at home, or in workplace settings. So knowing that background, Mandy, can you elaborate on what ConnectIDD is and who founded it? What was the purpose behind it? And then what is your overarching goal with ConnectIDD?
Sure. ConnectIDD is an organization that really seeks to support people who are supporting people with IDD. So we're supporting organizations, whether it's for-profit, nonprofit, government, it doesn't matter. If you are trying to do quality work for people with IDD, we want to be alongside you and to help you do that better. So the easiest way to describe that is consultants. We don't love describing ourselves that way, although that is the official term for what we do. But at the end of the day, we have all done this work at some point.
Yes.
And so we all know the weight that you take home every day when you're doing this work. And we want to do whatever we can to just ease that weight a little bit. If we can carry some aspect of ideas, decision-making, guidance. We're not here to tell you how you have to do everything, but we're going to give you our input from our experience, and hopefully that'll help you feel more confident and comfortable as you're moving forward. We were founded by Michael Thomas. Michael and I have worked together since 2012, off and on throughout the years, and it's been a lot of fun to see both of us kind of grow in our knowledge, our experience, our careers. So as a former CEO of a large organization here in North Texas, he was consistently getting requests from all over the country. How do we do what you're doing here? And none of us really ever had the time to provide that kind of support for those organizations. But everybody's trying to recreate the wheel. Yeah. And so now he had the opportunity to go out and do that. And we've grown to a team of 7 people. We all have different areas of specialty, and we're really creating more holistic support for organizations so that they don't have to feel like they're the only ones out there doing what they're doing, or there's nobody they can look to for examples of what they do or don't want to do.
Yep. Well, ConnectIDD, for those who don't know, is a proud partner of the North Texas Disability Chamber, and truly impressed of the massive growth that the organization is doing, not only in Texas, but across the United States. Michael, I've had the privilege of knowing since almost a decade, and he is truly a force to be reckoned with, and he has prior experience of running an organization, and now leading ConnectIDD to impact and empower organizations and their leadership to grow their organizations, from programming to fundraising to simply strengthening boards. Sure enough, Michael helped strengthen our board to become a powerhouse of our own. And so knowing that, I want to emphasize your role with ConnectIDD on the community impact initiatives and the outcomes around inclusion and accessibility. And so could you identify some of the core programs and or services that ConnectIDD offers?
You did a great job of listing several of the big ones we do. So we do strategic vision planning. We can help create programs from scratch, from financial models to schedules, to how do your individuals move throughout the program and engage effectively within the campus, but also in the community. We also do a lot of fundraising, development, even grant support. We have, guided boards, like you said, anywhere from we've been around for 20, 30 years to we are going to build a campus in the future and we need help figuring out how we do this correctly. What we can do, one of the things that's really important to us is that we're only supporting organizations on things that we've done before.
Yeah.
So someone on our team or one of our expert contracted supports has done that work before, and we can give you experience-based guidance.
Yes.
So what we can do really is boundless, because what we've found is when we have a few organizations that are coming to us for something we haven't done before or don't feel that we're qualified to guide them in, we will either hire someone new, like we just hired, our 7th employee in 2 years. So that's great growth. Or we've got several experts in the field who work with us when needed and serve in more of an advisory capacity.
Well, again, 2 years, they've added 7 employees, amazing growth. And part of that is that people are committed, organizations are committed to growing and advancing disability inclusion and accessibility within our communities. And that is credits to your growth and to what you guys are doing and building and empowering individuals like myself and other organizations to reach those outcomes. I want to just go into the challenges part of it. Disability leadership, disability inclusion, and accessibility is not an easy path. And there are going to be gaps and there's going to be challenges. Could you identify some of those gaps and challenges that Connected is currently trying to solve?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that maybe I expected but didn't really expect, I've only been with Connected 6 months. So there's a lot of things that going into it I thought I knew. And then I realized what we're experiencing here in North Texas as nonprofit orgs or as disability servicing orgs isn't unique to Texas. The difficulties in serving this population are pretty universal. We know that we have difficulty getting qualified staff to serve our people. So the DSP crisis is...
Can you identify what DSP is?
I sure can. So it's a direct service professional.
Okay.
So, some people might say direct service provider. So basically it is the person working hands-on with the individual with IDD.
Okay.
Whether that is in an instructional support, residential, community-based, any of that, job coaching, any of those types of things can be considered a DSP. But the staffing crisis is nationwide. And the reasons for that might look the same, they might look different, but getting people to come on board but stay, retention in a very emotionally draining position, we all take that home at night. We also see complicated funding, no matter the state. Even if the state has great numbers that they are providing, so hey, you get $120 an hour to support this person one-on-one, man, that's amazing. But it's so complicated to get access to that funding or to navigate it or to budget for your organization around the variations within that funding, the nuances, the red tape. I mean, let's be real. And then at the end of the day, it's the national withdrawal from DEI is not helping any of this. So as the climate around serving people with disabilities gets more complicated and more tense, it's scaring organizations, if nothing else, but it's also making them less bold in how they move forward because they are planning to lose access to things that they rely on, or they're planning for connections or relationships or resources to disappear. And that's a state of fear that we just shouldn't have to have when we're serving people who need support.
You know, Mandy, you brought up a good point around funding. And there was I think Michael shared this in a private group chat among disability leaders here in North Texas. And it was a good point because funding across the board, no matter what state or what geographic area you live in, funding is still relatively low for our disability community. And frankly, if you compare Texas and other states, some states might have $30 per person, whereas Texas, we have $5 per person. So frankly, in Texas, we're constantly having to think innovatively outside of the box, strategically, and how do we use those dollars? And why we at the Disability Chamber emphasize collaboration and partnerships. And we're stronger when we work inclusively together to accomplish those goals. And so thank you again. I'm going to go into our break now. And for those who don't know, October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And this entire month, we are celebrating the purpose of value and talent among people with disabilities that they play at home, in our communities, and in our workplaces. So we have a video from Quest Employment Services, one of our partners at the North Texas Disability Chamber. So the video is about to play, and here is the message from Quest. Quest says, October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, a time to celebrate the talents and potential of people with disabilities. At Quest Employment Services, we're proud to support individuals on their journey toward independence and long-term success. Every day, we provide personalized training and employment services that help people build skills, gain confidence, and prepare their future. We're also grateful for their partnership with the North Texas Disability Chamber, and together we're creating opportunity, inclusion, and empowerment across our community. And if you or someone you know is ready to take on the next step, Quest offers customized workshops designed to prepare individuals for employment and sharpen their important work readiness skills and giving individuals the tools to succeed in school, work, and life. Quest Employment Services, they're all about empowering people, strengthening communities, and building brighter futures. So if you want to learn more, visit questemploymentservices.com or check out their Facebook, LinkedIn pages for upcoming class offerings. You can also reach them directly by email if you're interested in learning more. Thank you, Quest, for your partnership and support in honor of National Disability Employment Awareness Month. All right, back to the episode. So, Mandy, tell me, we're going to go into more about the innovation and the partnerships and around systems change that ConnectIDD is doing, and maybe talk about your innovative approach, if any. So we all know that collaboration strategies that help drive inclusion and focusing on the challenges faced and the lessons learned that comes with it. So can you elaborate more about what partnerships or collaborations that have been essential in advancing what ConnectIDD is doing?
Sure. I guess at the risk of sounding cliche, all of them. There is no connection, there's no resource, there's no collaboration that goes wasted in the work that we do. And I think organizations like the North Texas Disability Chamber are important because it brings us all together in dedicated space to connect and remind me what you're working on and how can we support that, or hey, have you thought of this? But at the same time, it's every person I've ever worked with has become somebody I've learned from, somebody that I've gained insight from that I can share with other organizations that we're working with. The power of collaboration, I think, often gets overlooked. People talk a lot about networking.
Yeah.
And I think that when individuals think about networking, they're like, oh, how do I get to my next step in my career? But the real value in networking is the collaboration in the work that we do, especially in this space.
Yeah.
It may not be true in the general, for-profit corporate world. But in this space, the collaboration is what makes us more powerful.
Yeah.
Again, everybody's trying to recreate the wheel because they just don't realize that other people are doing good work out there because we hide it.
Yeah.
We hide it really well. And I don't know if that's because we see each other as competition or, if we just want to be the best. And sometimes that's human nature, I think, on both of those counts. But it's the collaboration that lets us go, hey, you're doing that piece really well. You're doing that piece really well. Is there something here? Is there, we serve two different age groups. Is there a way for us to streamline length of life service here? Those are the types of things that really our collaborations have allowed to create possibilities out of.
You really bring up a good point. And as somebody who is trying to, I would say, change the landscape of what collaboration looks like. And, networking, I always tell people, I am always boots on the ground. I'm going to show up to certain events that most people in our space are not attending to. And oftentimes I'm their point of contact for referrals or building those connections and so forth. But one thing I will say is networking has its benefits as long as you're focusing on measurable outcomes. And that's what Sid Marshall said in our first episode was we got to focus on outcomes. And for me, I think about results. And so outcomes and results are similar, but it can mean different things for different people. And so let me just dive a little bit deeper. So yes, all partnerships are important, but can you define maybe one or two current partnerships that you are building or growing or establishing within ConnectIDD?
We are building partnerships right now that I think are really important for the future of the space. Without naming, any specific organizations, we're having conversations right now with local authorities, which manage funding and distribution of funding, but also the services for all people in a county.
Okay.
And that's a really big deal because when we are able to now have not just the 30 or even 100 or 500 people you serve, but a county's worth of people can be impacted. And not just people with IDD, but people with mental health diagnoses. We've got so much more capacity to make a difference. We're also having conversations right now about engagement at a state government level. And those are things that I think open doors when, even if, it doesn't turn into major contracts and things like that. That's really not the end goal here. The end goal is impact. And it's changing the way people are thinking about the disability space and how we serve people and how we engage with other people within the space. So those, I think, are the big pieces that excite me the most. We also have, several others outside of Texas that are really exciting. Some of which have, resulted in formal partnerships, and some of which are staying at the conversation phase. But it's not always about the formalities of it. I really think that opening those doors and creating the opportunity for collaboration is the most important factor.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the whole partnership model with local governments or entities, that's a sensitive subject, and I understand why you can't disclose that, and that's completely fine. I think what people need to realize is to get counties and states and cities involved, it's not just about the who you're serving or the kind of dollars for contracts. It's really about the impact that's directly impacting the daily lives of individuals with disabilities and their families. And I often talk about, Mandy, the importance of policy. And without policy, it's hard to make any kind of changes, either a funding component or simply providing access to services. But being there and being that representation and that voice for entities like states and local and cities, you're empowering them with the knowledge and resources to feel more confident to make the right decisions on behalf of our communities. Let me ask you another clarifying question. What do you see ConnectIDD is doing in helping change the disability landscape within the next 5 to 10 years?
With the rate that we're growing, I think there's a lot of potential there, and the types of conversations that we're opening the door to now. I really think that seeing more collaboration is definitely something that we want to see, and not just, oh, great, all the North Texas people are together. I think that that's important and fantastic, but we serve people in multiple states. And so how do we increase collaboration across states where, yes, the funding may look different, but at the end of the day, our goal is truly to impact and serve people with IDD. That's the same. And how we do that well looks pretty similar,
Yep.
Within the limitations of funding and policy and things like that. I think that's one of our biggest factors. And we've been talking a bit about how do we, we serve people in Florida, we serve people in Nevada and Utah. How do we bring all that together to make it more impactful for each of those, and not just, great, we've done this for the organization in Las Vegas, we've done this for the organization in Asheville, North Carolina. Those are great things, but they would learn as much from each other as they would from us. And we want to really create that as more of an open access.
So you're basically saying that we need to have more convening opportunities at a national level.
All the convening opportunities.
Okay, very good. Well, and I will just say, as a leader of North Texas Disability Chamber, I'm grateful for Michael and the ConnectIDD team, including Mandy and Shay and among others, and Mac. There's so many names to think of. But I want to emphasize that is the reason we're highlighting ConnectIDD is because of their national presence. And they're showing maximum results or outcomes or measurable outcomes for organizations and leaders like ours. And you're absolutely right. Collaboration is key, but convening creates the results. It creates the outcomes that we all want to see and envision. And if we keep showing up and being present in the moment, and then showing out, sharing those opportunities and those outcomes. So we are approaching toward the end of our podcast for this episode. And looking ahead, what are some future goals or upcoming projects that you would like to look for at ConnectIDD?
Man, I think that future goals is to increase impact. At the end of the day, it's to increase impact. Yes, what we're doing, but it's to increase impact on the people with IDD, more importantly. And then, man, I get excited about all the projects. We love the opportunity to help people start. That's great.
Yeah.
I think that I've heard some people say, please stop starting nonprofits. Please stop starting new orgs. And there's reasons that people say that. And
Can you define some of those reasons?
sure. So I think that one, you can definitely have saturation. And when we are trying to compete against each other, we are not being as effective as we could be in serving people. Not all communities can have saturation. We have so many adults with IDD just in North Texas alone. I think we could have 1,000 IDD organizations and still not be able to serve everybody here.
Yeah.
While that is true, there are other, small organizations that serve smaller communities that probably don't need a second organization there. What they need is more people collaborating, more people supporting the work that they're doing. Let's improve what we're doing in this space and in the next space so that we're not just creating new orgs. And again, everybody's recreating the wheel. So we're just starting from scratch over and over and over again. Where if we could find partnerships that were meaningful with this org over here and that org over there, and now we're serving counties we couldn't serve before, or we're serving diagnoses or levels of need that we couldn't serve before. Those are the key pieces of impact where we don't end up overlooking segments of the IDD population.
What advice would you give for organizations that are wanting to possibly build? It could be a duplication of something else. It could be a replication of something with their own ideas. What advice do you have for those organizations that are either building currently at their early stages, or they're just looking to want to build something because they see a need that is unmet?
And that's very valid. There are often needs that really are unmet by the existing organizations. And I think that I would start by asking the people you're going to serve about their interest and need in what you see. Because particularly if you're not a person with a disability, you may see an unmet need that the community you're serving doesn't need.
You're basically referencing a feasibility study.
Potentially, yes. I think that it's really important that, and it may be, large scale surveying, all of that's fine. It may be smaller focus groups. It may be reaching out and building partnerships with the school district or with your partner nonprofits in the area, where if you can find ways to truly understand the problem itself, you could actually meet the need.
Now, I appreciate that because I am oftentimes I have the finger on the pulse of all the different nonprofits that are being established or relatively new in the last year. For those who don't know, there, according to the recent North Texas Giving Day we had last month, there were about 3,600 nonprofits in the North Texas Giving Day campaign. I would say about 10% of them are either serving or directly serving people with disabilities. And that's a lot of nonprofits. And funding, again, is very competitive. And so I always tell people, be strategic in your focus, finding the right partners or collaborators to help amplify your work, but also don't see each other as competitors, see each other as collaborators, and be strategic, really be focused. And so one thing that I've learned in the Disability Chamber is I have to not see each other as competitors, but more so as how can I help contribute to the work that you're already doing? And how can I grow that? And if I can be just a simple connector or a convener for educational outcomes, or simply just a way to navigate you in this process. And I always tell people, if you want to elevate what you're doing, consider working with ConnectIDD. And they're doing that work. And they have a team of dedicated experts ranging from 10 to 30 years who have been in this space. And so they're truly the experts in this space. So one last question. It's sort of a call to action. Mandy, what would be one key takeaway from this meeting, and or what advice or opportunities and how they can best support you?
Sure. We are really fortunate that we don't rely on donations to be able to do the work that we do. But the orgs we serve do. And so I would say one of the key ways that listeners can be involved and support the work that we do is donate time, money, whatever you have to offer the local orgs in your community. They need you. They need us. They need what we can offer them. But at the end of the day, they need supporters, and they need people who are volunteering. They need people who are serving on their board, serving in advisory capacities, donating, whether it's, one-time gift, monthly gift, whatever that can look like for you personally. Yeah, it is true when people say every dollar counts. And so that would be my encouragement. But at the same time, don't let it stop at, I come in and, volunteer once a month in this org. That is amazing, and that is needed work. And then how do we expand that? How do we get other people involved? So invite your friends to come volunteer. Invite, your friends to come experience what it's like to work with these amazing individuals. Are there group days? Are there events? Are there things that everybody can get involved in and volunteer with? So I think that's the most important factor when you're supporting the work that anybody is doing. At the end of the day, it just involves showing up in some way.
Well, I got to say, Mandy, we're at the end, and I truly appreciate your insights, your experiences, your knowledge, but also your passion. I can see that passion in you. And I will also like to say that what she basically highlighted is the importance of giving our time, talents, and treasures in support of area organizations, either in Texas or abroad. Support them however you see a fit and appropriate. So thank you, Mandy. I appreciate your support in making this happen. I also want to say to all of our listeners, please consider subscribing, sharing all of the work that we're doing on our Let's Work Inclusively podcast. But I hoped you enjoyed the episode, learn more about ConnectIDD. You can find them online. But at the same time, thank you, Mandy. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you.